Welcome back. A recently released book takes a long look at how and why Republicans chose Donald Trump as their standard bearer in 2024, despite lots of, well, complications. His 2020 loss, criminal indictments, the Capitol riot. The book's called The Elephants in the Room, How Trump Voters Seized the Party from Republican Leaders. I spoke with the book's author, Seth Masket, earlier today, and here is part of our conversation. So, going to the title of the book, who are the elephants in the room and why do they matter?
The elephants in the room, as I frame it, are essentially people involved in the party. I mostly describe local party officials across the country, county party chairs, what you might call like the middle management of the party. These are people who sometimes in the past have been, they're not majorly powerful, but they're influential. They're connected. They're the sorts of people who will talk with each other. They'll confer with each other.
They're part of the connective tissue.
Yes. And in some ways, they can help make a decision.
Grassroots voters, state party, national party, White House nominee.
Absolutely, yeah. These people can help sort of determine who the nominee is just through spreading information. And
they're kind of a Geiger counter of what's going on among the party faithful.
Yes.
So how did Trump change all those orientations?
So you still have those people. They still exist, but they have seemed to have lost power to essentially a very passionate group of voters and activists out there who are very loyal to Donald Trump. And we saw this really starting in 2015 when he first puts his hat in, throws his hand in to run for president. And a lot of the party is not behind him. You know, a lot of people are coming out and giving speeches against him, endorsing other people. And he still keeps doing well. He still keeps doing well among voters, and they don't seem to be figuring out a way to stop him. He just developed this kind of connection with a very passionate group of voters that proved impervious to whatever these party insiders
who either were Republicans or were gravitating to the party in ways they never had before because of Trump.
Yeah, and also people who had just not been particularly interested in politics before, that he drew into the system with the combination of his fame and his wealth.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a way of simplifying that to say, before Donald Trump came along, lots of people who love professional wrestling didn't really care about politics.
Right.
But then, because of Trump, they cared about both professional wrestling and politics. And guess what? One started to look like the other.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger's run in California was like a test run of this. Right. You know, people who like loved his movies but hadn't really thought much about politics, and suddenly they're interested in both. This was this much on a much larger scale.
And we'll get into a lot of the other underlying factors, the 1964 of it, the 68 of it, the 92 of it, the 92 and 94 of it. But there's a big compartment of this compartment of this story that focuses on immigration and where the Republican Party was, and where Donald Trump took it, and by taking it, found a constituency that was dying for someone to speak their language.
Yes, that has, was a fault line through the Republican Party for a lot of years. And this was something, President George W. Bush was pushing for some sort of immigration reform. There was some, congressional leadership was pushing it. They were getting pushback from a number of voters. But it seemed like, coming out of the Republican Party's 2012 loss at the presidential level, that, there was a, particularly passionate group of voters, Republican voters, who felt like no one was speaking to their anti-immigration views.
Trump blamed Romney for that loss, saying you left a bunch of white working class voters off the board.
Yeah.
Gettable voters who didn't vote for Obama. They just didn't vote at all.
Yeah. And we saw that in 08 and 12 as well, that there was this idea that there were, a number of white conservative voters who stayed at home, basically, because they felt that no one was speaking to what they're feeling about immigration. Trump spoke to that. He addressed that. That was his one, probably most consistent and loudest opinion, was opposing immigration across the southern border. And that drew people out. That drew people out who had sat home in 2008 and 2012.
And I covered that campaign. I was on the road for almost 16 months, 2015 to 2016. And Build the Wall was not just about immigration. It was sort of a way of saying, I'm going to topple the establishment of the Republican Party. And even if people want to criticize the specifics of it or doubt whether the Mexico is going to pay for it, I don't care. This is sort of like a big symbol of how much I want to change things as they are.
Yeah. I mean, build the wall, there was a lot folded into that besides just immigration. That includes views on trade that were very different. People who had been like uncomfortable with international trade and uncomfortable with international alliances, he just wanted to shut those things down or at least really restrict them. And he spoke to those constituents.
Quick reminder, The Takeout is available, we're happy to say, as a podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever else you can find your podcast. You can find each show there and our long-form interviews, of which we do many, including my full conversation with Seth Masket.